Not quite ready for it, but we got sandbagged. We'll have all the doors, everything covered with the sandbags, and hope that it doesn't flood.
People all across the West are bracing for heavy rain and the possibility of dangerous flooding as the remnants of Tropical Storm Priscilla move in this weekend. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to West Coast Wrap. I'm Alex Savage. In Arizona, it's been raining on and off all throughout the day, with heavier downpours expected to hit this weekend. Here is a look at what the scene was in downtown Phoenix, and there is still plenty more rain in the forecast for the next few days, and that is, of course, raising the risk of flash flooding. KTVU meteorologist Roberta Gonzalez is tracking what's left of Tropical Storm Priscilla, plus another hurricane that's taking a similar path. She'll show us the forecast in just a minute. But first, we want to go to Globe, Arizona. That's where rushing floodwaters left several people dead just 2 weeks ago after a severe storm. As Fox 10's Brian Webb reports tonight, many people in that community have been getting sandbags today to try to protect their homes from this latest round of rain.
It's been a pretty decent day here, a mix of sun and clouds, no raindrops as of yet. We are in downtown that was hard hit a couple of weeks ago. You can see part of it is still blocked off, and down that way to the left, sandbags are up in front of a few of the businesses as well as a few homes as you drive around town. But other than that, residents seem ready to go, at least as ready as they can be. Now, hammers, fans, and lots of hard work. It's a dirty, muddy, smelly job, but the Gonzalezes are determined to save the family home.
My family. I love my family, and I love this home. I love my mama that didn't tear my father, and this is family. This is put down.
Properties along Jesse Hayes Road are the hardest hit. Out of about a dozen homes here, 5 are damaged beyond repair. A few are barely hanging on, and the Gonzalez home is in the middle of a major makeover. But it's the little things that give them strength.
The furniture and all the bedrooms in the bedroom, it lifted them up and let them down when it drained. Not a drop of water, not any stains, no dirt stains on none of the furniture and the bedding. That was the miracle in this house.
A stone's throw down the road is a large pile of propane tanks being picked up and hauled away to safer ground. Up the hill is the city's official trash pile, large last week, now more like a monster. Plus, a handful of sandbag stations are set up.
Well, when we tore down this wall, you could see there's a frame with a picture in it. And it does open up. And there's a little picture of flowers in it. But why it's in the wall, we do not have any clue.
Beyond the repairs, the Gonzalez home is getting ready for possible rain. Sandbags stand watch outside their home, and lots of hope is inside their hearts.
Worried about it, not quite ready for it, but we got sandbagged. We'll have all the doors, everything covered with the sandbags, and hope that it doesn't flood.
So there is a curfew in place for the next few nights here along Broad Street, the main drag, especially in spots where it's most likely to flood. The restaurants and bars and stores, that kind of thing, remain open, and people here are just waiting and hoping for the best. In Globe, I'm Brian Webb, Fox 10 News.
A lot of people anxious in Arizona. For a closer look at the storms that are moving into the west this weekend, let's bring in KTVU's meteorologist Roberta Gonzalez. And Roberta, we're worried about 2 systems here.
Yes, and Alex, when is the last time you have seen 2 systems on both sides of the state of California?
Yeah, it seems unusual.
Yeah, very unusual. But what you're talking about is 2 separate systems that are pooling into not only Mexico, but also into Arizona as well as Nevada and scraping across portions of California. Okay, let's get to it here. You see this right here. This is all the remnants of what was once a hurricane that was just about 200 miles off the Cabo San Lucas coastline before it began to fall apart at the seams as it hit that colder California waters and then moved onshore. So we've been talking about torrential rainfall all around the Phoenix area. So far, we've seen about 7/10 of an inch in some of the suburbs around Phoenix today, and only 2/100 of an inch of rain in San Diego. But but nonetheless about 1/3 of an inch of rain around Barstow. And now in the Las Vegas area, we're talking about a flash flood warning in effect for tonight. Again, that's right around all the different areas, the suburbs around the Las Vegas area, including Henderson. And we do have a flood watch in effect for this highlighted green area that encompasses the Phoenix area until Monday. You ask why Monday? Because there's a secondary system. This one's still in full development. It should be a hurricane by tomorrow morning. It's still offshore. Its name will be Raymond, and it will again lift up in a northerly fashion and take that particular route that Priscilla did and move right back into Arizona. So again, here are some of the storm totals so far. This is really just today alone, nearly 1/4 of an inch in Scottsdale. And when you put that on top of that hard desert surface, it does cause some flooding. And meanwhile, those temperatures today were in the 90s. Can you imagine that rainfall with temperatures in the 90s? It was 95 degrees today in Palm Springs, 85 in Las Vegas, and it's currently raining there. Meanwhile, 76 degrees in San Jose, 73 degrees upstream in Redding, and 60s in the Pacific Northwest. Meanwhile, let's go ahead and focus in on this. In Phoenix, look at the layers of subtropical clouds. These are the clouds all associated with what was once a hurricane. 93 degrees today in Phoenix. Meanwhile, we now take you to Los Angeles at 88 degrees, 10 degrees above average for this time of the year. It was in the 70s at the coast there in Santa Monica. 71. It was beautiful in San Francisco today. Pretty much a repeat performance all weekend long. High, thin cirrus clouds ahead of the front moving into the Seattle area at 61. So that's the bottom line. You saw all the precipitation moving in and around the state of California on both ends. The bottom line is it's going to get wet in Seattle all the way through Portland by tomorrow. Los Angeles stays dry. Phoenix, you're stormy through Monday. And Denver, you're looking pretty good. Alex?
Stocks tumbled on Wall Street today for their worst day since April on more uncertainty about tariffs. The president posted on Truth Social today that he is considering a, quote, massive increase of tariffs on Chinese imports. That comes in response to restrictions that China has placed on exports of rare earth minerals. The Dow today fell nearly 879 points. That was a drop of almost 2%. The Nasdaq was down 3.5% with a decline of 820 points. And the S&P 500 dropped nearly 3%, down 182 points during the session. The drop comes as many analysts say that the market may be overpriced relative to corporate profits, especially when it comes to the AI industry. This is day 10 of the federal shutdown, and lawmakers are no closer to an agreement to reopen the government. This afternoon, the White House Budget Office announced that substantial layoffs of federal employees have begun. It's called a reduction in force, or RIF, and it could shift some of the 750,000 federal workers from being furloughed to fired.
We believe that they are not only unethical and immoral, but illegal for him to be riffing people during a shutdown. There's no new authority granted to the president or OMB during a shutdown.
House Republicans have passed a continuing resolution to reopen the government until mid-November to allow time for negotiations and say they won't come back until the Senate passes it. However, Democrats in the Senate say they want legislation that would extend health care subsidies that are part of the Affordable Care Act. The Senate is out right now for a long weekend, but they are set to take another vote on reopening the government next Tuesday. A recent analysis from Moody's Analytics says several West Coast states are already in a recession or teetering on the edge. The company's chief economist, Mark Zandi, says 22 states are contracting or at high risk of contracting. According to the latest business cycle status, Washington and Oregon are in or at high risk of suffering a recession. Hawaii, California, and Nevada are treading water, so to speak. Idaho and Nevada's economies are expanding right now. Well, gold prices are breaking records, and they could go even higher, and that is reviving a gold fever for many new prospectors. Fox's Max Gordon is in Jamestown, California, gold country, with more on this latest rush.
With the price of gold hitting about $4,000 an ounce, some folks are headed to the hills of California's gold country. Right now, we're standing along Woods Creek in Jamestown, California, on a plot of land that's been leased by California Gold Panning. And for a fee, They will let you pan for gold right here using techniques that have been used up here since the 1800s. And if you're lucky, you just might find something and catch that same feeling that the prospectors were chasing back during California's gold rush.
Gold fever is very real. And that is no kidding. You know, you see that gold in your pan or whatever, it just gets your heart beating, you know.
The folks at California Gold Panning say the high price of gold has sparked more interest in their tours. We were here as a family from Kentucky panned the biggest nugget of the summer found in this creek. Garth Tidwell works as a jeweler, but says he's never gone hunting for gold in the dirt before.
I've always wanted to do it at the source. Yeah, find it at its source, of course. And 30 years in the jewelry industry, and I've never done this.
The price of one of these gold panning tours ranges from about $180 to a couple $100, just depending on how much time you want and how many people are in your party. And if you're lucky, you just might come out ahead. In Jamestown, California, Max Gordon, Fox Business.
A new Qatari Air Force facility is coming to Idaho. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth welcomed Qatar's Minister of Defense to Washington, D.C. today. The two leaders held a meeting at the Pentagon where Hegseth touted the Qatar-U.S. military alliance and thanked Qatar for its role in peace negotiations in Gaza. Secretary Hegseth also announced the creation of a new Qatari Air Force facility in Idaho.
Also proud that today we're announcing or signing a letter of acceptance to build a Qatari Emiri Air Force facility at the Mountain Home Air Base in Idaho. The location will be host a contingent of Qatari F-15s and pilots to enhance our combined training, increase lethality, interoperability. It's just another example of our partnership.
The arrangement is not unprecedented. The Pentagon says similar facilities have been set up for other allies for many years. The Idaho base already hosts a fighter squadron from Singapore. Well, just days before the Dreamforce conference is set to get underway in San Francisco, Salesforce CEO Mark Benioff says that he would support President Trump deploying the National Guard to the city of San Francisco. Benioff gave an interview to the New York Times San Francisco bureau chief Heather Knight. In that story, Benioff was critical of having to pay for hundreds of off-duty police officers to patrol the area around the city's Moscone Center. When asked about sending in the National Guard, Benioff said, quote, "We don't have enough cops, so if they can be cops, I'm all for it." Several people were taken into custody in connection with protests happening outside of an ICE facility in Portland. We've been telling you about that office. Police say they arrested 2 people last night outside of the center, while federal officers say they took 3 people into custody. The arrests came during protests over the Trump administration's immigration policies. Portland police say they are beefing up their presence at the ICE facility to keep the situation from turning violent. And Oregon's only Republican representative, Cliff Bentz, is a dissenting voice on the National Guard debate among the state's elected leaders. He says he agrees with the Trump administration's call to deploy the troops, arguing the president has the, quote, right and responsibility to protect federal employees and property. However, he says President Trump's description of Portland as a, quote, hellscape or war zone may be overly dramatic.
The president has a technique of communication that almost many times involves exaggeration. I know because I've listened to him for a long time.
Congressman Bentz also says the city's issues are not contained to just one block and that Portland faces what he calls a broken criminal justice system and tax structure, plus a police shortage that justifies federal intervention. Coming up tonight here on West Coast Wrap, an unforgettable Uber ride. One passenger looking back on a rideshare trip that he took with a man who is now accused of starting the devastating Palisades fire in Los Angeles. Also, former USC great Mark Sanchez remains hospitalized tonight after a fight last weekend that ended with him facing criminal charges. What new surveillance video reveals about what happened? A Southern California man is in shock tonight after realizing that his Uber driver was the man arrested for setting what would become the deadly and destructive Palisades fire in Los Angeles. Brennan White from Malibu is now sharing receipts showing a New Year's Eve Uber ride with a driver named John. It's time-stamped right before investigators believe Jonathan Rinderknecht started a fire that blew up into the devastating Palisades fire. Brennan also got a call about a month after the fire from an LAPD detective asking about his New Year's Uber ride.
Uber driver was acting super crazy. He was going on, we weren't even really talking to him, he was just ranting, going on rants about Trump and how he hated Trump so much and how he can't find a girlfriend, there's no good girls out here. Really just mad at the world.
Brennan also said he recognized Jonathan as his Uber driver when a photo from his arrest started circulating last week. Well, new video shows Fox football analyst and former USC star Mark Sanchez walking aimlessly through downtown Indianapolis right before an alleged attack on a delivery truck driver. This surveillance video shows Sanchez roaming and at times stumbling through the streets for about 20 minutes in the early morning of October 4th. At one point, Sanchez talks briefly with a stranger before later running toward the area where that fight ultimately took place. He's then seen running from the scene, bloodied from stab wounds. I talked earlier with TMZ's Charles Latiboudiere to help make sense of this situation.
Just bizarre to see Mark Sanchez wandering around. We don't know what he was doing. He's by himself the whole time. He's not talking to anybody other than that stranger who went by. And immediately after the fight, we see him running back down the alley.
That truck driver suffered a severe facial laceration and was treated at the hospital. Sanchez tonight remains hospitalized as well and is facing felony battery charges in connection with that fight. The Idaho corrections officer suspected of leaking prison security footage of convicted murderer Brian Kohberger will not be facing criminal charges. That's according to the Idaho Statesman. Police and prison officials did an investigation into the leak after security footage made its way online back in August. Investigators determined the leak did not break state or federal law. State police also say the person who leaked the video has since quit their job with the Idaho prison system. Kohberger is serving 4 life sentences for killing 4 Idaho college students back in 2022. Washington State has reached an agreement on a law to require members of clergy to report child abuse or neglect to investigators. The law has been on hold after a judge found that part of the measure violated religious freedom. Under the agreement, state and county prosecutors agreed not to enforce certain requirements for clergy to report suspicion of child abuse if the information was solely obtained through confession. Coming up tonight here on West Coast Wrap, the Seattle Mariners asking for a favor from a group of scientists. Why the team had a seismometer set up inside their stadium ahead of tonight's winner-take-all playoff game. Plus,
cool, it's interesting, it's unique, something I've not seen before.
Several squadrons taking to the skies this weekend as part of San Francisco's Fleet Week. Coming up tonight, we'll take a closer look at what viewers can enjoy. This weekend's air shows for San Francisco Fleet Week are being scaled back as a result of the federal government shutdown. But organizers say there are still plenty of reasons to turn your eyes to the skies. KTVU's Henry Lee has a closer look tonight at what visitors can expect this weekend.
A united Boeing 777 with wheels down, ushering in this year's Fleet Week along the San Francisco waterfront. The plane made sweeping turns and low passes over the water to the delight of spectators. 3 World War II era P-51 Mustangs flying in formation over the bay, demonstrating their maneuverability. The Patriots jet team, the Bay Area's hometown civilian aerobatic team from Byron, also showing their skills, their smoke trails red, white, and blue. And the headliner this year, the Canadian Snowbirds, returning to Fleet Week for the first time since 2017. The Royal Canadian Air Force team, the stars of the show instead of the U.S. Navy Blue Angels, an annual favorite that had to pull out because of the federal government shutdown. Next were craned skyward on Friday during a practice air show.
We're so pumped. We're so excited. I mean, at the heart of Fleet Week is community and service.
Bree Mon, head of the Fisherman's Wharf Community Benefit District, says the show's still on, even without the Blue Angels.
We are anticipating less numbers than last year, but not by much. The great news is that our tourist numbers have been slowly increasing this year.
The sound of freedom is going to be in the air all weekend long.
Fleet Week spokesman David Cruz says there's food and drink all weekend long, too. Plus live music and entertainment at the Fleet Fest stage at Jefferson and Taylor at Fisherman's Wharf.
Come on down. There's going to be an incredible air show that's happening. We've got Fleet Fest happening here at Fisherman's Wharf. We've moved that over here. There's going to be a kids zone for them.
It's cool. Like, it's interesting. It's unique. Something I've not seen before. And we're just waiting in line for this boat, and we're just watching these planes flip and twirl.
Those planes fly so close together without crashing each other.
I think it's just such a nice day, and then I think my son loves it. So yeah, it's good. Yeah, I think Friday is good, so it's not that as crowded.
The air show goes from about 12:15 to 3:30 on Saturday and Sunday afternoons. I checked the weather. It looks to be sunny. Fingers crossed for clear skies. In San Francisco, Henry Lee, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Yeah, let's hope so. All right, ships from Colombia and Canada have arrived to put the fleet back into Fleet Week. The Royal Canadian Navy ship HMC Nanaimo will be giving tours on Sunday at Pier 19 in San Francisco. Members of the Canadian Embassy say their ships visit the U.S. 10 to 20 times a year as part of North American defense. Colombia's tall ship ARC Gloria sailed into the San Francisco Bay on Thursday. The Colombian ship will also offer tours to the public at Pier 15. This year's Fleet Week is a celebration of the Navy's 250th birthday, and across the bay in Alameda, the USS Hornet is taking part in the party. From now through Sunday, the USS Hornet Sea, Air, and Space Museum will feature hands-on exhibits, historic aircraft tours, and daily presentations by Navy speakers. Museum hours are 10 to 5 every day. Admission starts at $10, and military personnel will get in free all throughout the weekend. All right, turning now to baseball, and another West Coast team hoping to advance to the next round of the MLB playoffs. The Seattle Mariners in action tonight, hosting the Detroit Tigers in a decisive Game 5 of the American League Divisional Series. This is happening in Seattle, and tonight the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network has installed a seismometer at the stadium, T-Mobile Stadium, to track seismic activity at the ballpark during tonight's game. Officials with the network explain why the team wanted their help.
This week, Cal Raleigh had a post-game interview where he mentioned that he could feel the ground shaking at the stadium during the game. And so the Mariners reached out to us and said, hey, we want that seismometer. We want it at the stadium. Can you guys come and install it for us? So we put the stuff together, and now we actually have it live recording.
All right, and no doubt the crowd there at T-Mobile Park is making some noise right now because it is a tight one. This game is tied up 2-2. Here we go. The Mariners, we should say, this game is in the 8th inning right now. The Mariners, they lost the last game in Detroit, but the M's hoping to reach the ALCS for the first time since 2001. It was just last night, remember, when the Los Angeles Dodgers punched their ticket to the next round of the playoffs, knocking off the Philadelphia Phillies. All right, finally tonight, pop music group No Doubt getting back together for a residency at the Las Vegas Sphere. 6 shows are slated for May of 2026. The limited engagement follows the band performing last year at Coachella. It was the first time the group performed together since 2015. Should be a lot of fun there. That does it for West Coast Wrap tonight. We appreciate you watching as always. Have a great night.